Hey YouTube, hey Bold and the Beautiful fans. Oh wow, so Thomas proposes again to Hope, a third time. So let's get into this. I certainly didn't see this coming. What do you think about this now? This surprising, shocking, impromptu proposal from Thomas. Thomas, of course, is engaged to marry Paris and they're planning their wedding, but now Hope is pleading, begging with Thomas not to go through with the wedding, and Thomas gave us quite a surprise today. So let's get into this and talk about all of the possible repercussions of this. Okay, so we know that Hope showed up. It's the 4th of July, and happy 4th, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful 4th of July. And of course, they're having a big party at Eric's house, and Hope shows up, and of course, everyone's there. You know, Steffi and Finn aren't there. Apparently they're gonna show up later to the party. We'll see if they make it, but Hope's there and she's looking upset, and everyone's toasting, you know, Thomas and Paris, the happy couple. They're going to get married, and they're talking about, you know, planning the marriage. The wedding is gonna take place at Eric's. Carter is going to officiate. So everyone's buzzing with excitement about that, and we'll have to see if we even get to a wedding day. I think we will, and maybe some events, some big events, something could happen at the wedding. But for now, of course, Hope is upset that this wedding is going on. I have to admit, at times, Thomas looks like he has some concern too. So we'll get into all of that here in a second, but Hope had to go get some air, right? And Brooke found her, and Brooke, you know, asked her, you know, if Thomas were to propose again, what would she say now, right? And Hope said that it wouldn't matter because the woman that Thomas wants to marry isn't her, it's Paris, okay? But then Hope went over to talk to Thomas alone, okay? Everyone was at the pool, and Hope was able to find Thomas alone, and Hope was begging, pleading for him to not go through with this, that she wasn't ready for the idea of marriage, but that doesn't mean she wasn't ready, you know, to stay in a loving relationship with him. And Hope has even made this point, you know, several times, that she wasn't ready for marriage, but and that there's more than one way to have a commitment, right? Other than, you know, making it official with marriage. And that's to stay in a long-term relationship where they can, you know, be partners, and they can raise their son Douglas together and all of that, okay? And that maybe at some point down the road, Hope would be ready for marriage. But, you know, I think Hope feels that Thomas just wasn't giving her enough time for that. And Thomas wants to be married now, right? He wants that part of his life to move forward so that he can, you know, be married, and maybe even, you know, Thomas has hinted that he wants more children too. So I can't help but wonder about all of this. You know, of course, Thomas went to Paris. He met Paris in Paris, right? And, you know, Hope even made the point that Thomas didn't really give himself enough time to grieve the ending of their relationship, okay? And that all this is moving so fast, and even Ridge had his concerns, but it looks like Ridge now is on board with Thomas and Paris. But there are times when Thomas, you know, it looks like maybe Thomas could be, you know, I'm not saying he's manipulating Hope, but it looks like maybe he could be concerned about this, or that maybe there's an idea that all this is a ploy on Thomas's part to try to get Hope to marry him, to say yes to his proposal, okay? And we certainly saw that today in a surprising way. Of course, Hope is begging, pleading with Thomas not to marry Paris. And Thomas then says, well, you know, the time wasn't right then. How about I give it a third try, okay? And so he's holding Hope's hands, and he asks Hope today if she'll marry him, if Hope would be his wife, okay? And so Hope, you know, is just stunned, right? And we're stunned too, because I didn't see this coming. Wow. So, but this is Hope's chance now, right? This is Hope's opportunity to say yes and to resolve all of this, right? Because I do believe Thomas still loves Hope, and I do believe that he wants to be with her, and I believe that Hope feels that way too. I think this is a Thomas Hope story. okay, more so than it is Thomas Paris. I feel bad for Paris because I think she's going to be the one that ends up getting hurt here, and nobody wants to see Paris get hurt. But I think this is more of a Thomas Hope story, okay? Of course, Paris was looking for Thomas, so I'm thinking Paris will walk in now on this scene of Thomas and Hope together. So we'll have to see what that happens. But spoilers for next week indicate that Hope isn't going to say yes to Thomas's proposal, okay? So maybe what will happen is Paris will walk in and maybe Hope can't answer. Maybe she's stalling, or she's just not ready to answer him. And then maybe Thomas realizes that Hope won't say yes. So that ends that. And Thomas feels like Hope just isn't going to say yes, okay? Of course, I don't know what Hope's going to say, what she'll say, or how that scene will play out. But spoilers for next week tell us that, you know, Thomas and Paris will continue to plan their wedding, and things aren't going to change on that front, okay? But we'll have to see specifically how everything plays out. But what did you think about this proposal today, this third proposal, right? It's going to be incredible to see how this plays out, but I do think this is more about Thomas and Hope. And we'll have to see if there's a wedding, if something happens. There's theories that maybe Paris is pregnant or Hope is pregnant, you know. I don't know. I don't think either one is pregnant, but you never know. There's also an idea that maybe Hope's headaches will become a factor at the wedding and maybe she'll pass out or something like that. But there's also an idea too that I was thinking that, you know, if Paris does walk into Thomas and Hope, that maybe Paris will start to think that maybe Thomas isn't fully committed to her too. And maybe, who knows, maybe Paris is the one who walks away from this. So there's also an idea that maybe Carter and Paris could have an affair, and that breaks Thomas and Paris up, but that's getting way ahead of myself right now. But there's a theory out there about that. But there's plenty of theories, there's plenty of speculation. We'll have to see how everything plays out. But this was definitely a surprise today with Thomas's proposal. I loved it. I thought it was great. And you know, this is Hope's chance now, right? This is her opportunity to say yes and to have that commitment. I know Hope isn't ready for another marriage, but at some point you have to assume she will be. But this is her chance now to resolve this, but it doesn't look like Hope is ready just yet, even though she still loves Thomas. So next week is going to be really interesting to see how all of this plays out. But what do you think? Is Thomas still in love with Hope? Is it really Hope that he wants? Is this marriage going to go through with Paris? We'll have to see, but don't miss a moment. It's going to get really, really interesting. So keep it right here. I'll have more updates coming on this, and I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.